6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh boy, I forgot to chant. Sleep is non-negotiable. There, we have it for today. It's non-negotiable. And that's what we're going to talk about for the rest of these 15 minutes. But before we do that, for those of you who are watching, thanks for dropping by, saying hi. My name is Toby. I'm 41 years old. I train to live an active, self-sufficient, and adventurous life. I do so by minding my sleep, minding what I eat, trying to keep an active lifestyle, connecting with the people I love and care about, contributing to the communities I'm part of, having things that I enjoy, doing generally things that I enjoy and I'm learning to master as a part of my journey in life, and generally trying to live a stress-free life. Now, if that's something you're interested in, then maybe we can have a conversation about life and living on this channel during one of my streams, or like here, we have a podcast recording, and we can talk about different aspects of life, living, and what I understand might keep us healthy and fit for a longer, more active, more fun and adventurous life. But that's just my take on it. You might have a different take on it. I'd be curious to hear that from you in the chat room or in the comments under the video. Whatever is there, whatever format you choose. If you drop by, please hit like, subscribe maybe to the channel. Let me know that you're watching. Let me know that you're interested. Let me know that you want me to make more content and to talk about sleep more and more. Or maybe I'll put you to sleep with my voice as you listen to this. While I start my day, it is 5:55 a.m. I'm about to go out for my morning walk, and in this podcast, we always talk about sleep on Mondays, food on Tuesdays, movement on Wednesdays, connection on Thursdays, mastery on Fridays, motivation on Saturdays, and we reflect on Sundays. And then the week is come and gone, and then we start all over again. And we are very consistent with that. If you go into the history of my channel, you'll see how consistent I've been over the last years. We always talk about today's training, so I'll tell you what I did today. Then we're going to talk about sleep. Then we're going to talk about one small change we can make related to sleep to help us try to figure out what kind of sleep schedule is going to work best for us. Because like I said at the start, sleep is non-negotiable. And we need to learn to prioritize sleep if we want to be healthier, fitter for life and living. So hit like, subscribe, let me know you're watching in chat, and then we can continue the conversation in different ways. And I'd be happy to answer any of your questions. Today's training, what did I do? I did kettlebell strength and conditioning. I'm using a lightweight because I'm still recovering from a back injury. So I pulled my back, I think 6 or 7 weeks ago now, which prompted a trajectory of low intensity steady state cardio through walking, which has actually been very beneficial for me. So it's been so good for me that I've decided to incorporate it into my daily morning routine. There's just something very pleasant about having been out for 30, 45 minutes, sometimes an hour. Yesterday was an hour and a half because it was Sunday in the morning, and just having walked and moved. But today's training, light kettlebell, Navy SEAL or SEALs, squats, racked squats, 10 left, 10 right, overhead presses with a lightweight, rows and deadlifts, and then repeated that circuit 6 times, so 30 minutes in total. And that's a 30-minute workout right there. That's how I started my day on Monday. I can't pronounce your name, but thanks for dropping by and saying hi. Hi back, and I hope you're doing well where you're at in the world, and I appreciate you dropping by and saying hi. I'm talking about health, fitness, and longevity this morning, and we're going to talk specifically about sleep in a moment. So if you're interested in sleep, just stick around, and we will have that conversation, because sleep, I think, is a biological necessity. And I think the evidence over the last 20 years has mounted that for some reason, most, if not all, creatures in this planet, despite the strange dynamic of usually being relatively alert, where sleep makes us relatively vulnerable, we do it, and we do it for a long stretch of the day. We do it for like a third of the day, daytime, nighttime, or light-dark cycle. So there's probably a good reason that our bodies, our minds require this. It's crucial for physical function, for mental function, for emotional regulation, and for general overall longevity, right? There are a lot of health benefits related to good sleep. Sleep, for example, when it comes to our brain cells shrink a little bit, and the brain flushes itself with a sort of liquid, and because of that, sneeze coming up. Because of that, right, we have, I'm sorry about that, that's hay fever, and that's what hay fever will do for you. So I hope that wasn't too loud. Will do. So, the brain flushes itself and removes all of the plaque and junk that builds up there throughout the day, and that means we can start the day fresh. So when you're feeling a bit sluggish in your thoughts after a poor night's sleep, you have at least a little bit of the explanation there, right? There are also things that happen to the prefrontal cortex, which is where we make all of our decisions, that it starts to function at a lesser capacity after a poor night's sleep. Sleep is generally when we make things like growth hormones. It helps with our hormonal regulation, which involves emotions, moods, but also cell repair, right? So there are a lot of functional benefits to sleep. That's why sleep is a non-negotiable. The thing is, we face so many different challenges with our sleep that it's hard to pick a starting point, right? First of all, we have to wake up in the morning. And then when we wake up, we start the day, we start working, we're stimulated, we're active, we're thinking, maybe we're a bit stressed. This goes on throughout the day. We get home and we want to relax. And in order to relax, we sit down on the couch, we watch TV, we try to entertain ourselves, distract ourselves, we maybe have a drink, so we feel we deserved it. We maybe have some snacks and some food after dinner while we're sitting, and maybe already also throughout the day, also to get to the end of the day and to stay alert, maybe we've caffeinated ourselves, right? So we're caffeinated, stimulated, and distracted. Yeah. That is not a good recipe for a bedtime ritual, okay? So when it comes to sleep, actually, the sleep already, the preparation for sleep already starts around lunchtime. And I know this is very hard for us to comprehend. It sounds like, oh God, I have to be so mindful of everything. I can't live life The way I look at it is that I have certain habits throughout the day. One of them is drinking coffee, but my coffee habit is that I drink coffee up until 2 p.m. After 2 p.m., I simply don't drink caffeinated drinks. That means that by 8 p.m., between 8 and 9 p.m., when I am helping put the kids to bed, getting ready for bed myself, lie down to read, which is a part of my end of day ritual, which really helps me fall asleep and turn off from the day. Yeah, that caffeine is either completely been metabolized or is like in the final stages of being metabolized by 10 or 11 p.m. It's definitely all out of my system. I don't have any trouble falling asleep at between 8:30 and 9 p.m. Because I've been doing so for a long time. It's part of my rhythm. But I also notice that if I do need a cup of coffee at the end of the day, let's say I have an evening engagement like the theater we went to Friday, even then I might have a cup of coffee at 6 or 7 p.m. I have no problem falling asleep a couple of hours later because my rhythm is so strong. My sleeping habit is so strong that one cup of coffee once in a while doesn't have that big of an impact, right? But it also has a lot to do with the fact that I'm up already at 5 a.m. to get started with my morning workouts. So I'm tired at the end of the day. So our preparation for sleep actually starts earlier in the day than we think. There are things that we can do with how stimulated we are, how much we eat, what we drink throughout the afternoon, so between 12 and 8 or 9 p.m., or if you go to bed later, between 3 p.m. and 11 p.m., and how we actually prepare for bed, right? Because it's not just, lying down and going to sleep. There's actually 30 minutes, sometimes an hour before, of things that we do in order to prepare for a good night's sleep. And that's called a nighttime ritual. And whether you like it or not, remember what I just said about, oh God, I have to do things and prepare for things, and it sounds like a lot of effort. You're probably already doing a lot of the things that make for a better preparation. You're probably having lunch, probably drinking and eating stuff throughout the afternoon, you're probably having dinner, and you're probably doing something between dinner and bedtime that could constitute a nighttime ritual. And you probably have the practice of at least brushing your teeth before you go to bed, I hope. Hey, Mr. White, it's been a while. Thanks for dropping by, saying hi. I hope you're doing well. I hope life is treating you well where you're at in the world. And I hope that you're having either a good end of the day or start of the day, depending on where you're at in the world. It's 5 minutes past 6 here in Amsterdam. Just got here. Well, we're talking about sleep, because today is Monday and the podcast topic is sleep. I already did the workout. We're just chatting now for a bit, 5 more minutes, and then I'm off for my morning walk. So we have, you're in Texas, so it's like 9 p.m., 10 p.m. where you're at, maybe a bit later. So it's bedtime, so it's an applicable topic, I guess. We already have all of these routines throughout our day that constitute an afternoon, evening, and bedtime ritual. The idea is, or the skill or the trick is, to start to look at those different parts of the day and try to understand how they might affect your night's sleep and where you want to make the tweaks. And today's small change is going to be related to caffeine. So we're going to talk about that in a minute or two. But just consider that if you look at the time right before you go to bed, put your head on the pillow, what are you doing the 30 minutes before that? What are you doing the 2 hours before that? Just looking at that time space. What's happening? What are you spending time on? What are you investing time in? Are you stimulating yourself through intense sports activities? There's some evidence, I think, that weightlifting, for example, actually makes you tired, helps you sleep better. But there are also sports and activities that actually, are so stimulating that they wake you up and make you more alert and pump you up and make it harder for you to be able to fall asleep if they occur within like 1 or 2 hours of sleep. So how many hours before you actually want to sleep should your final bout of sports be? But a nice walk in the cool evening air or through nature to put your mind at ease, then again, might help you fall asleep at night, right? So different activities we can choose from, and they'll have different effects on how well we sleep. But the fact remains, is that we are distracted, overstimulated, right, over-caffeinated, and that cocktail is not very conducive to a good night's rest. But if we look at our overall goals in terms of living longer, living healthier, living active lives, getting strong, fit, and building that capacity for adventures, then mastering our sleep becomes crucial. So what's one small thing that we can do for sleep that's going to help us sleep better? You don't mind me asking? I will answer that for you in a second, Mr. White, for sure. And I don't mind you asking at all. So the one small change that we're going to make in terms of our sleep pattern is we're going to try to limit caffeine after lunch, okay? Now, the easiest way to do that is to look at your regular bedtime that you've more or less already set, I think in week 1 or week 2 with me, and then calculate 8 hours back from that, and that's where you stop drinking caffeine. And then you can try that, and you can see what that does for you and how that works for you. And probably, I'll give you a little hint, the first 2 or 3 days, it's going to be pretty difficult not to have that extra shot of caffeine. Also, don't switch to green tea, because it'll keep you up the same as coffee, right? Black tea is a little bit better, but still slightly caffeinated in a way. So the best option is water. I won't say anything about alcohol at the moment, but limit your caffeine intake 8 hours before bedtime, and the easiest way to calculate that is just say after lunch. So have all of your coffee in the morning, drink other things in the afternoon. Try that for a week and see what happens, and let me know in chat. All right? Final question of today. What is my normal breakfast? It used to be very consistent. A yogurt with fibers, chopped banana, some sweet things mixed in, maybe some flax seeds, chia seeds, to get that fiber count up on the low-fat yogurt. But over the past 4 or 5 weeks, it's actually shifted because I've become more interested in plant-based foods and trying to add more greens and colors to my general eating pattern, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So now there might be some tomatoes in there with the breakfast. There could be a toast with avocado as a part of that. Once, maybe twice a week, I will boil an egg to go with that. One day a week, I'll eat oats. I have the whole uncut oats that I boil down with soy milk because I'm lactose intolerant. So it was Greek yogurt, but I switched to soy yogurt to eat. So there's a lot of variation in there, but over the course of the week, it's generally the same. So there's same ingredients. There's avocado, there's tomatoes, there's sourdough bread, there's lime, there's an egg in there, there's soy yogurt, there's usually flaxseed, chia seeds, fibers, dried cranberries, almonds, honey, proper honey from the beekeeper, in different with different flavors, to add a little bit of that sweetness. And the general extent of it is that it's always between 500 and 700 calories at the start of the day. Do I ever eat pancakes and French toast? Yes, I do. on the weekends, usually Saturday and Sunday with the kids, pancake day. It's either croissants from the baker or pancakes that we make ourselves, and I'll have a couple of pancakes with maple syrup because it's very tasty. You see, in Holland we have this thing where we have syrup made from brown sugar because that was available, and we have this powdered sugar that you add to the pancakes, which is all very tasty and sugary, but I prefer the slightly milder flavor, softer flavor of maple syrup. Yes, that's definitely there, but it is like 1 or 2 pancakes with maple syrup, and then something a little bit more wholesome, even though I think we add fiber to the flour, and what else do we put in? Oats, I think, usually tend to get a mix, so you get different kinds of carbohydrates in the pancakes. I hope that answered your questions. And yes, I'm feeling a lot better from my back injury. I think it's important, right? Like, I think it's important to understand the easiest thing is to have a set breakfast 5 days a week. And that worked for me for years. But right now I'm experimenting a bit. Sometimes I'll boil edamame beans to go with breakfast, or white beans and tomato sauce if there's like egg there. You know, like a bit more traditional, but I'm always very mindful of the portions in that. But what worked for me really well for years was just to have this as breakfast, which was low-fat Greek yogurt with some toppings. I think that always amounted to 400 calories. Usually I'll add some dark chocolate as well to get that in to the daily routine also. Thanks for asking a question. Thanks for dropping by. Friends, I'm at the end of today's podcast. And I'm at the end of my coffee. Remember that we're good, just the way we are. We've got to love ourselves before we can move on. It's the person we are today who's going to get us to where we want to be tomorrow. So a bit of kindness is going to go a long way. And the only way to get anything done, friends, is by showing up and doing the work. So I'm going to head out for my morning walk, and then we're going to start the rest of the day. Remember to hit like, subscribe. Let me know you're watching in chat or in the comments, and I'll see you on my next video. And remember, friends, the only way to get anything done is by showing up and doing the work. So go ahead and subscribe.